Hello and welcome to another episode of the Maxi-Geek Show. Today is Friday, April 7th, and this is episode number 55. This week was quite a busy one, with many companies trying to get news out before the Easter long weekend. Xbox dropped 2 hardware-related announcements, PlayStation put out new features for gamers of all abilities, and Nintendo revealed a new game for Nintendo Switch Online. As this is the first episode of the month, we'll end by going through the games coming out. But first, we're going to talk about recycled plastics. Specifically, we are talking about the new Remix Special Edition controller from Xbox. As you can see on the screen, it is a green controller with like a brown grip cover that's sort of simulated like a wood paneling. The reason why this is important as a controller is because it is made up of roughly 20% recycled plastics, as in, various milk cartons and all sorts of stuff like that. But it's also made up of old Xbox controllers. So either components that were made for other controllers that didn't get put in, or controllers that got sent back because maybe a stick broke but everything else was still good. They've recycled those parts to put them into a controller. What is very, very cool is that it does have this sort of stylized plastic trim here. And with this, it is one giant, sheet that they've printed, so to speak, and then they've formed it to fit the shape and size they needed. So no two controllers will be the same. The pattern on the back of the controller that you might purchase is going to be completely different from the one that I might purchase. In terms of standard looks, it is just the standard, controller. There's nothing fancy about it in terms of features or anything like that. It's just, being made with recycled plastics. It isn't the first time that they've done this as well. About 18 months ago, Microsoft released a mouse that used plastic that was taken from the ocean in its manufacturing. And even the box that came in was recycled. So this is the second time that Microsoft are really pushing forward on using more recycled materials to build product, which I think is a very, very cool thing. This Remix Special Edition, which is the official name of it, is coming out on April 18th, so about 2 weeks from now, and it will be priced at $119.95. To put into context, the Standard Edition black and white controllers, they're priced at $89.95. The special colors, so the pulse red, the neon green, they don't call it that, they call it electric green or something, volt green, sorry, that's what they call it. That one is $94.95 Australian dollars, and then like the camo ones have a really sort of special print, they're usually $99.95. Now this isn't $20 extra because it's made with recycled plastics. It's $20 extra because it comes with a rechargeable battery and the appropriate charging cable for that. The standard controllers, as I said, if you buy just the black or white one or any of the others, they don't come with that kit. You have to buy that separately, and that's usually another $20 to $30 depending on where you're buying it from and if you're buying official or not. So it's very, very cool that they're doing this. Again, this is funny, this is the 4th month of the year, and this is the 4th controller Xbox have announced and released. So we had the pink one last month, we had the purple, spacey one the month before that, and we had a camo one at the start of the year. So they're keeping up with this trend, so who knows, maybe next month we'll see something more. The other hardware news story that Xbox did release during the week was that there will be a Diablo 4 console bundle coming in June. Sadly though, it is literally the exact same console you can buy today. The bundle, which will be on sale on June 6th, comes with the standard Xbox Series X console, the standard black, controller, and all the appropriate cords for it, and then a digital copy of Diablo 4 base edition. That's it. That is all that you get in this edition. There's no fancy controller, there's no fancy console. It is just the standard, basic console. To put it in perspective here, I did put up from EB Games, if you're watching the video, there is the $849 bundle that you can buy today, which includes Forza Horizon 5 and its 2 expansions. So the Hot Wheels expansion from last year and the Rally Adventure expansion, which released just last week. that is $8.49. For $7.49 you can buy just the console on its own, or $8.49 you can get the Diablo console. The Diablo bundle, I'll put it that way, I won't call it a console. What is interesting is that you could buy the console today, and then when the game comes out, if you buy the game separately, most retailers like EB Games will do it at full price, whatever that happens to be, but most retailers will do $10 or $20 off retail price for that first sort of week. So you could actually buy the console today if you don't already own one, and buy the game on release day for $20 or $30 cheaper than recommended retail. So you actually be saving money doing it that way as opposed to buying it. Now, if this was a special console, like it had maybe it was made to look like a map or something, then that'd be cool. But no, it's just the standard black console. They seem to be doing a lot more with the controllers this generation than the hardware. Last generation we had the Cyberpunk console. On the PlayStation side we had the Battlefield consoles. There's been countless of them over the years. So it's just interesting that they made a big deal about this bundle, and it's literally just the existing console that you can buy today with a digital copy of the game you can buy on release day. And it's not even a price saving. You're not saving $10 by buying the bundle. It's the same price as the game and the console separately. Yes, the naming convention does get trippy, as Tabs has pointed out here in chat. There is the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S, and the Xbox Series moniker is the standard going forward. So let's say in 3 years they release the more powerful console. That could be the Xbox Series Y, it could be the Xbox Series B for all we know. It could be the Xbox Series XX, right? We don't know. But the Xbox Series is going to stick around. So yeah, it's a little weird that they're doing it that way, but that's the way they've decided to do things. So who are we to judge? Moving away from Xbox though, we're going to dip into the world of PlayStation, because during the week, God of War Ragnarok got a pretty significant update. That is where my mind went to, Tabs. Xbox, BMX. So during the week, God of War Ragnarok got an update. Now this isn't a patch to fix an exploit or something like that. This is a significant content update for the game. The biggest new addition for it is that it adds New Game Plus to it. So if you've beaten the game and you've leveled up Kratos and have all the gear and everything, you're happy with it, but you want to keep playing it and want to challenge, New Game Plus will let you take everything back to the start, and then go through it all again. All the gear, if you do this, has new levels to raise it up to. Kratos can go up in level, but all the enemies go up in level as well. So you're not just going to be taking through top tier gear through level 1 enemies and just slaughtering them. The other big thing too is that there will be different versions of gear as well. So if I show you here, there is the Spartan armor, there's the Ares armor, the Zeus armor. There's a whole lot more armor sets to be found and created for the game. It's not just that, there are also changes to, say, the Niflheim arena. There's new enhancements. Some of the bosses towards the end have been reworked to be more challenging for players who dive into New Game Plus. There's new photo mode filters and all sorts of stuff. So it is a very, very packed update for the game. They could have just done a New Game Plus and just sort of left it at that and been, hey, we've done this, that's great, enjoy it, and then they moved on. But that's not the case. They've added just a lot more content to it. This is also available for both PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. Whereas the DLC that comes out next week for Horizon, next week, the week after, that is exclusively for PlayStation 5. So God of War Ragnarok is the final game from PlayStation for PlayStation 4, and it's nice to see them still updating it there as well. Moving away from God of War, we're going to talk about a new shooter from Ubisoft, ever so briefly. So X-Defiant is a game that we've known is coming for a long time. When it was first announced, it was put under the Tom Clancy banner. So it was called Tom Clancy's X-Defiant. It has now dropped that moniker. It is now just called X-Defiant. I know a lot more about the game than I can talk about right now, but Ubisoft have announced that on next Saturday morning at 3 a.m. There will be a live stream where they're going to reveal what the game is and talk about features and modes and all sorts of stuff. And then starting at that time, a closed beta will also kick off for the game, which will let players jump in for a week and enjoy everything that is being offered. So if you jump in, the servers open Sydney time at 3 a.m. They close at 4 p.m. on the 24th of April. So, we get a good sort of 10 days for it there. What is interesting is if you register for it, they have information there about, say, the squads. So squads come from the Ghost Recon world, Splinter Cell world, the Division, Watch Dogs, and Far Cry 6. That is where sort of the 5 sort of squads come from at the moment. That is all public information. That is on the site, so you can go look at that if you so choose. I'm just not going to say anything more about it because of my, stuff that I know. So yeah, so coming forward next week, I'll have a big deep dive on that, and then that closed beta will be available to everyone. The only thing they've not said yet is where the beta is taking place, if it's a PC only thing or if it is available on consoles. I would just hazard a guess it's going to be PC only at this stage until they actually announce what platforms it'll be on. The game itself is coming to PlayStation and Xbox consoles as well, but there's nothing about the beta, so we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Moving forward from there, we actually got a release date during the week for the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters for console. So during December last year, Square Enix announced that the collection and individual releases of them would be coming to PlayStation 4 and Switch. When these were first announced, they were announced for PC and mobile, which people just did not understand why it was those two platforms, because it made no sense. But that is, the case in this instance. They're finally bringing them to consoles. The collection will be available, I believe it's for $107.95 if you want all 6 games, or they'll be available to purchase individually. The big thing with this one, though, is that the PC release and the mobile release, it is exactly, you got what you got with those ones. There were no features, no options, to make or customize the experience a little bit. That is not the case here. So with the console release, they've added, 2 very, very big things. The first is that the font can be changed. So the standard font they applied to the PC and mobile versions was not well received. It was very hard to read for a lot of people. You can actually swap the font in the console version to go from that new type of font back to a more pixelated, stylized font from the, sort of the Super Nintendo era. The other one is that you can turn the soundtracks back to the original versions of the soundtracks. So if you're playing the games and you're enjoying maybe the new versions of some scores, but you want to, remember what it was, when the games first released, you can swap back and forth between them. Another thing is that you can now turn off random encounters. So if you just want to play through for story purposes and don't really want to have to spend hours upon hours upon hours grinding out to get through all of this, you can just turn those off and just play through it. The game doesn't level you though, so if you do turn them off and you get to a boss fight and you're under leveled, you're shit out of luck, basically, right? So there are options to adjust the overall experience as well. So if you are looking to maybe dive in, because some of these games are a bit they're not hard, but they're definitely products of their time, you can make some adjustments to make it maybe a little more appealing to you if you're a modern gamer. So it is coming out on both PlayStation 4 and Switch. The Switch version you can order now, so it's $108 for all 6 games, $18 for Final Fantasy 1 and 2 on their own, and then $27 for the other 4 games. So you are saving money if you buy them in the bundle, but it's not necessarily something you have to do. And you are right, Tabs. The ability to adjust things does make it more useful for those who are just trying to play through and get some stuff done. Again, this is for all the games, but there's they haven't detailed all the specifics yet. they've just things, you can fast forward through some of the encounters. You can increase the level, the rate at which you gain experience. So instead of saying by getting 10 XP for defeating, a boss at level 1, an enemy at level 1, you could get 40 XP, right? So you can actually increase the rate or the amount of XP you earn per battle. So just stuff like that, just to help, again, ease people in, because again, the original Final Fantasy, the original Dragon Quest, those games are definitely not, approachable by modern gamers, because they are so reliant on you understanding the mechanics and accepting them for what they are. Honestly, I would put it more like Dark Souls. I'm not saying they're that level of complexity, but Dark Souls and the genre that From Software make things in, they definitely focus on a type of experience, and these original Final Fantasy and original Dragon Quest games very much fit that same mold. So it is something to be aware of. Stepping out of the world of games, we're going to talk about some Lego, because during the week, Lego announced a new Star Wars collector's set. So if you're not aware, Lego have this series called the Ultimate Collector Series. It is a big, it's sort of the deluxe version of the Lego sets, right? So you can go into, the Lego store or Lego Online or specialty stores and buy an X-Wing today. I have one. I've had it for 8 or 9 years now, but it's just a very basic one. It's like $120 sort of thing to buy. This one is the Ultimate Collector Series. So this is like scaled up. It's a massive size. It's a massive piece. It's designed to be set on a stand, so you can see it in every way, shape, or form and just enjoy it that way. They're definitely not play pieces. For example, there is a Super Star Destroyer in this series. It is $1,100, or it was when it first released. It is 1.15 meters in length, so it is a massive beast of a display piece, right? With this one, as I said, they've done plenty of X-Wings over the years. The most recent one was from the Force Awakens, the Episode 7 one. And that was Poe Dameron's X-Wing. That was a different model. This is based on the one that Luke flies at the Battle of Yavin, which he uses to blow up the Death Star. And again, as I said, this is a big thing. So, this is a full-grown man. In the official Lego shots that they've released, this is a full-grown adult male, and that's the size of the X-Wing. So these are definitely not pieces that you would buy to give to your, 8-year-old kid and say, go play with the Lego. These things tend to take 4, 5, 6 hours to put together, right? So they're definitely for the more conscientious builder, or the person who has a little bit of extra money. This one does come with a little mini R2 figure, comes with a Luke figure, and again, it comes with a display stand, so you can mount it up and have it sitting up, looking like it's in flight. This one is $369.95 is the Australian recommended retail price. You might find it a little cheaper at some retailers. You might see it, a little bit higher at others, depending on, who they are. And of course, as this is a Star Wars thing, and it is approaching Star Wars Day, it will be available on the 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. Yes, Tabs, it is a very, very big thing. I own the Millennium Falcon, not the UCS collection, not the big one, but just a standard one, and that is one I have to hold with 2 hands because it is so big. This is slightly smaller, so I would definitely want to use it with 2 hands. We're going to dip back into the world of gaming now, specifically to talk about accessibility on PlayStation 5. So PlayStation announced that this was coming a while ago. This isn't news. This wasn't a breaking thing that they've just said out of nowhere. But during the week, PlayStation rolled out an update to the PlayStation 5 console that adds accessibility tags to the PlayStation Store. So this is now available for all games on both PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 only via the PlayStation 5 Store. So if you buy your PS4 game on the PS5 Store, you can see accessibility tags. If you go to the PlayStation Store on a PlayStation 4 console, they will not be there. I know that a lot of stuff rhymes and I said PlayStation a lot, but let me explain what all this is. So the big thing with this is there are 6 categories of groups, right? So one of them is the visual accessibility features. So when you're looking for a game for yourself, for your partner, for your children, if your partner isn't a big gamer, they may not be up to pressing QuickTime events, right? Same with children, they may be a little too young to press, circle, square, square, circle, X, triangle, triangle, circle, within the space of 15 seconds. So all these sort of features, provide ways to say, hey, this game lets you, just press and hold a button instead of having to mash a button repeatedly, right? This game has subtitles. This game has, color correction for people who have color blindness, right? So the categories of visual accessibility, audio features, subtitles and captions, control options, which is, remapping buttons and all that sort of stuff, gameplay options, so difficulty, skippable puzzles, auto solve puzzles, stuff like that, and then online features. So if you're someone who has maybe a visual acuity issues, right, you can't see that well, or you don't see a certain color, the way that this works is it will be able to tell you, hey, I'm looking, and they've got a video here, I'm looking at Ghost of Tsushima, but I don't see too well, right? So what features does it offer for me? So if we go into the store here, so you can see here, right? So it offers large text, it offers audio cue alternatives, right? So instead of just having an arrow whizzing past your head, you might see arrow and an arrow pointing off to the side to tell you that's the direction it's coming from. So not every single game has these today. They are being added over time. All the PlayStation ones are there. But I think it's just a fantastic way for people to have it. So, I'm very lucky that I don't require any of these things. But I know many people that suffer from color blindness, right? So they do require, some color options at times, depending on, the game that they're playing. So, subtitles alone sometimes are just amazing to have. And now, you can set the background opacity of the box, the size of the titles, all that sort of stuff. It's one of the reasons why on Twitch now, if you move your mouse over, there's a closed captions icon on the window. And if you click on that, you'll turn captions on for the stream. It's not something, again, personally that I need, but I wanted to make sure it was something that I could offer to people watching it in case they required it. So again, I'm very, very happy that PlayStation are doing this, just because it is something that, it doesn't cost anyone any time or effort to sort of look through them if they don't need them. But if you do require something, it is there and it is enjoyable to be had. Moving out of the world of games, we're going to dive into the world of TV and movies, because this week saw 3 comic book, releases for trailers and such. The first one is we got a full proper trailer for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. I have to clarify on that point. When they announced this movie was coming out, they said this would be Part 1 of 2. They've dropped the Part 1 from all their marketing. When they talk about the thing, it's not Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. This is the exact same thing that Marvel did with the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. That was going to be Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2. Then they dropped the parts from the name, and then they rebranded Infinity War Part 2 to just be Endgame. So just be aware of that. This is technically, one part of a 2-part story. Like Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3, they were very connected. So just be aware that that is the case here. For obvious reasons, I will not play the trailer here, because sometimes people like to see the movie fresh. We do have more in there. It is, again, he's going into the Spider-Verse, so there is a lot of cameos from Spider-Man, from, the Mall Cop Spider-Man to, Spider-Pigs, Spider-Hams in there and all that sort of stuff. So there's definitely something to be seen there. Moving on from there, we also got a trailer during the week for Blue Beetle. Now, this one sort of surprised me because I'd honestly forgotten it was coming. Back when the pandemic was raging and everyone was still locked inside, DC announced an event called Fandom. And what it was is it was a way for them to bring the casts of their various movies and TV shows and comic creations and cartoons and all that sort of stuff together. It was like a 3.5 hour event. And just before it went live, they officially started, pre-production on Blue Beetle. So we got, the director of the movie and the star of the movie talking about how they've just started and they're excited and rah, 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 rah. So they announced that, and that was in October of 2020. Since then, there hasn't been any information about this movie. There's been no leaks about casting. There's been no, set photos. There's been nothing like that. It's been very, very, very quiet. So when they sent this to me, I was like, oh my God, I completely forgot this movie was a thing. Because everyone pays attention to Batman, everyone pays attention to Superman, right? But Blue Beetle gets overlooked. Another reason why this one surprised me is because when, if you recall, a while ago now, we went through the DC slate for the various things that James Gunn and that are doing now. They confirm, Shazam's still coming out, Aquaman 2 is still coming out, and The Batman Part 2 is coming out, and those are separate from this new universe that James Gunn is overseeing. In all that, in everything they talked about for all those things, the Blue Beetle was not mentioned. So even they've sort of forgotten that this movie is coming out. So it's just, again, something to be aware of. The trailer is here. If you don't know about the Blue Beetle is a piece of alien technology that looks very much like a scarab. And it, essentially it's like an Iron Man suit, except it can't be removed. So once it attaches to Jaime, he is forever inside the Blue Beetle. But the suit is more nano-based, like the later Iron Man suits, than it was early stuff, and it can reshape itself. To fit the various things that he can think of. So it's kind of like Iron Man suit meets Green Lantern's powers. So it's just something to be aware of there. The other trailer that dropped during the week was that of Secret Invasion. So Secret Invasion is the latest MCU TV show. This is the first one since She-Hulk, which released back in August, so it'll have been a while. This one will start airing on June 21st, again via Disney+. And it sees Samuel L. Jackson returning as Nick Fury, Ben Mendelsohn returning as Talos, Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones is in it. Don Cheadle makes an appearance again as James Rhodes. He was in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He played War Machine in Iron Man 2 and from then on. And again, Secret Invasion is the big thing about the Skrull have infiltrated Earth at various levels of the government to overtake and for obvious reasons, again, given how spoilery this might be, putting things in your mind, I will not play the trailer here. The links will be added to the VOD after the show is done. They'll also be in the YouTube comments, the YouTube description, and on the site when the video goes up there. But it is just something to be aware of for that. So we sort of, we've been a bit quiet on movie trailers and such. And then, in 1 week we got 3 big trailers for 3 very different properties. It's very, very cool. I did see the Mario movie the other night. I loved that movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely go give it a watch. It is far better than I thought it was going to be. I reviewed it. I did a review of it because Universal invited me up to see it, and I gave it a 9.5 because I was just that impressed with that movie. Right, moving on, we're going to go through the games that are coming out this month. Again, some games have already been released because, we are on the last possible day that we would be doing this. So some of these games will have released already, but let's run through it quickly. It is a very big month. There's a lot of big games coming out, so let's go through them. Yes, Tabs, Mario was fantastic. And for anyone who was a bit cautious on Chris Pratt, phenomenal job. Absolutely amazing. Meet Your Maker is out now already. That launched on April 4. That is a tower defense game where you build basically Rube Goldberg levels of towers that you have to automate the defenses on, because once your tower is built, you can then go and invade other players' towers to try and sneak in and take out their core to take it back to yours to get points. It's a whole thing. Definitely worth checking out. It did launch in the PlayStation Plus, the game catalog there. So if you have PlayStation Plus Premium or Extra, yep, they're the ones here. The game is included in those there. So if you do have that, you have this game already. Also on the 4th, Road 96 Mile Zero. This is a prequel game to Road 96, which first released on Switch a while ago. It eventually came to every other platform. This game launched on all platforms at once. So if you've played Road 96, this is a prequel to that. If you've not played Road 96, this won't make much sense to you in terms of that context, but it is again a prequel, so you don't need to have played the original game for it. Yesterday, finally saw the release of Everspace 2 on PC. The game went into early access 2 years ago, so it's definitely been a long time coming. We have a review of it up. I think it was an 8 that we gave it in the end. Definitely has some things to be aware of, but you know, if you like your space shooters, this is probably one to be looking into. Paparazzi finally came to Switch yesterday as well. It has been out on other platforms previously, but the Switch version finally released. Today saw the regular release of EA Sports PGA Tour for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. It did launch in a special, early access version a couple of days ago, but this is the original version. Interestingly, for this one, I did go to do a bargain guide for it. This is not in stores here in Australia. Yes, no, tabs, they're not related at all. If you wanted to pick up EA Sports PGA Tour for, say, PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X or S, well, Xbox Series S doesn't matter anyway, but Xbox Series X, this is a digital-only title here. They do have listings in the States for it on disc, but here in Australia, it's just digital, so just be aware of that one. Also today, Grim War Once More got released here. As this is a News America title, it did release a couple of weeks ago in the US. They just, stagger the releases a bit. We finally got that here today. This is another one of the vanillaware games from the PS2 era, so it's a lot of hand-drawn visuals. They've redone a lot of that work for the modern platforms. It's just now out for Switch and PlayStation. Moving on to the games that are coming out still. Next week we will see the release of Tron Identity for Switch and PC. I have it now. I haven't started playing it yet, but I will get into that after this. We will have the review up before the game goes live. On the 12th, Ghostwire Tokyo will come to Xbox Series X and S and in Game Pass that day. It'll also come to Windows PC, so it is available via Epic, I think it is at the moment, or Steam. It's one of them. This will be via the Windows Store as well. The day after that, on the 13th, PlayStation 5 and PC owners of the original release will get the Spiders Thread expansion, which is a whole bunch of new locations to explore, new missions to undertake, like a roguelite sort of combat room area. So stuff to look forward to there. That is included in the Xbox release, but for PlayStation it's the day after. This is not accurate anymore. AFL 23 was delayed yesterday to the start of May because they have had issues getting in some of the physical stock for the game, so the discs being printed. So they've opted to delay the digital release as well, so that is not accurate. But that was due out next week. Next Friday, we'll see the release of the Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection for both Switch, PC, and PS4. This is exactly what you expect. It's another Mega Man collection. There are 2 parts to it. You can buy them together, or you can buy them piecemeal. There is no retail release for this one here either, so if you do want it, it's a digital-only purchase. On April 18th, God of Rock will finally release for all platforms. It is a music-based fighter. If I pop the trailer on here and just jump in a little bit. So it's not quite Street Fighter levels of anything, but it's also not, what's the other game I was thinking of? This is what it is. It's kind of like, Guitar Hero meets Street Fighter is probably the best way to put it, or Rock Band, depending on your preference there. So you don't need a guitar to play it. It's not that complicated or anything, but it's, it is a music rhythm game, so just be aware of that one. On the 18th, the first of the League of Legends story titles will release. This one is the Mage Seeker. So this one is being published by Riot Forge, which is a division of Riot Games. So if you are a League of Legends fan, it will expand the story on a particular character out of that. It is a top-down sort of isometric shooter game. It's not technically a shooter, but that's like the vibe for it. The best way I can describe it, actually, because I'd sort of forgotten what it looked like, it's a pixelated Hades. That's probably a better way to look at it. So if we jump in here, there is actual gameplay in this thing. So see what I mean? Like the dashing and all that sort of stuff, it's very much reminds me of Hades, but it's sort of like just pixelated. So that's on the 18th as well. Also on the 18th, busy day, Minecraft Legends will release for all platforms. It is included inside of Game Pass for Xbox and PC owners if you have the subscription there, so just be aware of that one. On the 20th, Arcana of Paradise The Tower will finally release for PC and Switch. It was announced originally under a different title. I cannot remember what it was now, but they renamed it midway through development to that title. The 20th will also see the release of DNF Duel for Switch. This is a fighting game from Arc System Works. It is available on other platforms already, just getting a Switch release on the 20th. Also on the 20th, we'll see the release of Stray Blade for PC, Xbox Series X and S, and PlayStation 5. That is a roguelike hack and slash, so that's one to be aware of there. The 21st will finally see the release of Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp after its sort of last minute delay last year. The 21st will also see the release of Dead Island 2 for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. I did get to put a couple of hours into it a few weeks ago. It's just more Dead Island. If you like the original game and the standalone expansion, you'll like this. If that series didn't grab you before, it's probably not going to grab you now. The 25th will see the release of Afterimage for all platforms. This is another Modus game one, like God of Rock. Yeah, Advance Wars and Dead Island 2 both actually releasing, and on the same day. Afterimage is a hand-drawn Metroidvania style game. I think it looks amazing. It has a visual, aesthetic to it that, we've seen a lot of hand-drawn stuff these days. But this sort of reminds me more of like this sort of the late 90s sort of cartoons where they went for like a really detailed background and sort of simplistic character animation, kind of like some of the Cartoon Network stuff. Again, it is a Metroidvania. I don't know much about the story beyond that, unfortunately. Strayed Lights will be releasing on the 25th for all platforms. It's just another sort of, roguelike 2D game. Kuzuna AI Touch the Beat will see release on Switch, PC, and PS4 on the 27th of April. The game is already out on PS5 because it's a PlayStation VR 2 title as well. So it launched alongside the hardware back in February. It's now just coming out to other platforms here. The Last Case of Benedict Fox will release on the 27th for PC and Xbox. It is another Metroidvania game. I saw, somebody described it today as Tim Burton meets Metroid. So if you're interested in that sort of, mashup, that's one to look at. Live Alive is getting a release on the 27th for PC and PlayStation platforms. It is already available on Switch. It's just now coming to more platforms. This was supposed to be a Switch exclusive, given that Square Enix released some 27 games last year. And most of them failed to make any sort of impact because, they were releasing a game like every 3 weeks. It doesn't surprise me that this one, didn't maybe sell as much as they wanted it to. So it's less than 9 months between its official release on Switch before it lost its exclusivity. Finally, wrapping up the month will be the release of Star Wars Jedi Survivor for PC, Xbox Series X and S, and PlayStation 5 from Respawn. So that's it. That is the big sort of list of games coming out this month. As I said, there are a lot. I don't know why it's decided on 2 out of frame there. So there's a lot coming. As I said, some big names like Advance Wars, Dead Island, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Tron. This is not the first Tron game. It's the first Tron game in a while. The last Tron game was Tron Runner. So it's Run/R. Which is just a generic endless runner set in the Tron world. Wasn't that great. It sort of just, it had a bit of a splash when they announced it, and then it just fizzled out pretty quickly because it wasn't that interesting. Interesting fact, I should say, is that Tron Light Cycle Run which is a clone of the Tron Power Run from Shanghai Disney. Opened this week in Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World in Florida. So you'll probably see a lot of Tron stuff floating around various social medias over the next few days, because there's a lot of new merchandise. And again, there's a new Tron ride. They even had Jeff Bridges do a video as Tron. Oh god, what's his name? What's the character's name? It's not Sam. Sam's the son. Anyway, he did a video as, as what's calling Flynn from the Tron movies, talking about the new ride. So they went all out with this. So there's definitely something to be aware of. That does wrap up our show for the week. For all the details about all these stories and the ones that didn't make it into the show, be sure to visit Maxi-Geek.au or follow us on your favorite social media platforms. With all that said, it means it's time to sign off. So until we see you online next time, happy gaming.